Hello, goblins and ghouls, and welcome to my Haunted Life podcast. I'm your host, Angela Hartjorn, and today we are continuing our exploration of crimes somehow associated with Ouija boards. And these ones today are much more recent, historically. So, here we go. Quick trigger warning, my loves, there is animal abuse in this one later on. Just so you know, heads up. Hello, my darklings, my loves. I hope you are having a fantastic day because you deserve it. Anything new and exciting? Let me know on the Facebook group. We need all the positivity we can get right now. Let's be honest. It wouldn't hurt us to share some positivity here and there. Not much to report over here. Just hanging in there and getting shows going. When this podcast comes out, it'll be the beginning of February. I added 2 new shows to my Oddities and Curiosity Expo adventures. With my other company, Hartjorn, I'll be in Atlanta the weekend of the 15th and the 16th, and then Charlotte, North Carolina, the 22nd and 23rd. So, come by the show, say hi. I haven't really been to either place, so I'm really excited for new adventures. So if you have any suggestions on where to eat and what spooky things to check out, the big 2, let's be honest, let me know. One of the things I'm really excited for is my mom is coming with me again. And we are going to go explore the Atlanta Aquarium, the one with the giant whale sharks. I'm so excited. Something not spooky. Kind of spooky if you have an ocean thing, I guess, maybe. I'm so freaking excited for that. So if you're new to the podcast, I have a fascination with ocean cryptids and haunted ships, water spooky things, if you will. Things like that. Probably because I'm as landlocked as you possibly can get in Colorado, so I get obsessed with going and finding a lighthouse whenever I can. So, that makes me wonder if, the aquarium is haunted. I think it's Atlanta. You'd think it would have some kind of haunted everything. I'm going to have to look that up. Stay tuned. We'll see what's happening. I don't think I have a lot of other housekeeping to go over. I am liking the every other week episode schedule. It allows me a chance to stay up on them and actually get ahead. Even though I'm not that ahead right now. But you don't know that because it's still going to come out on time. But what do you guys think? Let me know. I think that's honestly about it. I had to think about it. Definitely let me know your favorite Ouija board story from last week if you want to do a deep dive on it. Wait, when does this episode come out? This episode will come out... And so, you know what? Just in case no one's told you yet, happy Valentine's Day, now that I'm a week ahead. But I love you, and I love you being here. So there. On this week's episode, we are continuing our adventure with Ouija board crimes. I just find these so freaking fascinating, and I hope you guys do too. I hope you've listened to this long. Today, the stories are much more modern, and I was actually shocked how many modern ones I found. I figured I would find a lot of ones from the 30s, maybe some satanic panic 80s ones, because I just love that era anyways. But I was not prepared for how many 2000 onward I found, which is what we have today. So, here we go. So, let's get into it, shall we? Grab yourself a cup of tea, make sure the doors are locked and the planchette is close by. I have a story to tell you. Our first story has the headline of Woman Driven to Kill by Ouija Board, investigators say. And this was published, it looks like, at Tuesday, February 13th, 2001, at 12 a.m., according to this, by News on 6. Minco, Oklahoma, AP. Relatives say Carol Sue Elvacar had no history of mental illness or odd behavior. Police investigating the stabbing of her son-in-law found no signs of alcohol or drug use or even domestic problems in the house. Instead, they say a Ouija board is what drove... You know what? We're just going to go with Carol, because I don't think I can pronounce her last name properly. Instead, they say the Ouija board is what drove Carol to fatally stab 34-year-old Brian Roach as he slept. Something like this, it's unbelievable. I guess it's everywhere, said Joe Gilbert, mayor of the Grady County town of 1400. It's a little town located about 30 miles from Oklahoma City. Carol, 53, was charged Monday with first-degree murder, said Brett Burns, assistant district attorney. Police found Roach dead in his home Sunday from one stab wound to the chest, says Kim Koch, spokeswoman with the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. It initially was viewed as a domestic violence episode, then police learned other details. Burns said Carol, her daughter Tammy Sue Roach, and Tammy's two daughters, ages 15 and 10. Okay, so it's grandma, mom, and two granddaughters playing Ouija board. Okay. We're playing with the Ouija board while Brian Roach, the dad, was asleep. Carol then attacked Brian Roach, he said. This is basically the grandmother saying that Brian Roach needed to die, Burns said. Carol also is suspected of trying to kill the 10-year-old daughter. She thought the 10-year-old was evil and thought the father was evil, Burns said. Oh, that poor baby. Tammy Roach, 34, took the knife away from Carol and hid it in the house. She then left the house with Carol and the two children. So the daughter took the knife away from her mother, who just killed her husband, and then left with her? Okay. Carol drove the four toward Tulsa on Interstate 44. She eventually crashed the car into a road sign in an attempt to kill them, Burns said. Carol broke both ankles in the wreck. The others were injured slightly. After getting out of the car, Carol tried unsuccessfully to push the 15-year-old into traffic, authorities say. This woman's having a mental break. She has to be. Despite her injuries, Carol ran from the scene with two broken ankles. Oh my God. Shed her clothes, jumped over the highway median barrier, and ran into a wooded area north of the interstate, Koch said. Police found her hiding in the woods. I mean, if anyone's possessed, it sounds like it's her, let's be honest. Tammy Roach was arrested Monday on a complaint of being an accessory to murder. Makes sense. Burns says Brian Roach begged for help but was allowed to bleed to death. Tammy Roach also hid the knife, supplied the getaway vehicle, and tried to get away from Carol when she had the chance, Burns said. It's amazing how the grandmother was able to let the Ouija board consume her life and how she was able to brainwash her daughter and granddaughters, he said. Brian Roach ran for mayor of Minco in 1986 when he was 19. He won by 8 votes. He unsuccessfully crusaded, there we go, for more police officers during his first year in mayor. He finished his public office career in 1991 as a city councilman. So he was involved. Okay. How insane of a story is that? Like, this woman must have been having a mental break or something. Wow. Our next article states, I want to make sure I had more information here, but it doesn't look that way. Teen stabbing subject, Ouija board said to do it. A Texas teenager charged in the stabbing of his 14-year-old friend said a Ouija board told him to carry out the attack, police said Friday. And this is from March 16th, 2012. And it was at 6:15 p.m. first published by Rutgers. And this was written by Jared Taylor. A Texas teen charged in the stabbing of his 14-year-old friend said a Ouija board told him to carry out the attack, police said Friday. The 15-year-old had been charged with attempted murder after stabbing his friend with a 4-inch knife on February 29th in a wooded area behind a high school in Weslaco, a small town along the U.S.-Mexico border on the southern tip of Texas. The victim was treated with intensive care for 3 days for a severe laceration to his intestine. Ugh. Weslaco police spokesman J.P. Rodriguez said. But it sounds like he survived, though. Okay. The alleged assailant, whose name was not made public, he's a minor, that makes sense, has no history of mental problems or criminal behavior, Rodriguez says. I'm like, he's 15. I hope not. I'm not making excuses for the kid, but I think sometimes it's harder for them to separate reality from fiction, the police spokesman said. This is kind of bizarre. After stabbing him, the boy took his friend to a nearby auto repair shop so the owner could call an ambulance, Rodriguez said. A third boy said that he witnessed the stabbing and that his knife-wielding friend told the victim to say he fell on the blade, according to police. The most, kid thing to do of, oh, fuck, I fucked up. Tell mom you did it. Yeah. Oh, that's so sad. Marketed by Hasbro, the Ouija board has a flat surface marked with letters, numbers, and symbols. It is used in a seance game that is said to help players communicate with the dead. Rodriguez called the case a little eerie, but said investigators believe the boy used the Ouija board to rationalize the attack. He actually believed the Ouija board advised him that the friend was the cause of his problems, Rodriguez said. That's kind of the incredible part. And that's where the article ends. And it's one of those, I would love to look this one up more, but with them being minors, I doubt I'll be able to find a whole lot more. But that's so interesting. The friend, the 15-year-old stabbed the 14-year-old friend realized he messed up, tried to get the friend to cover for him, but also made sure to take the friend somewhere to get help. I wonder why he went to an auto repair place. Like, if this is a small Texas place, I wonder if it's like the closest area that he knew people would be at, or maybe he knew someone at the auto repair place that could help. That is so interesting. I'm very curious about that one. That one, okay. Interesting. Also, another thing I forgot to probably tell you guys. Last episode, I had so many pictures. This one, I'm not going to have that many pictures. Because there's a couple of these stories where they're minor, so there's no pictures of them. Just figured I should warn you. No, that's an interesting one. Our next article is entitled Ouija Board Dog Killer's Wife and Stepdaughter Arrested After Fire Destroys Their Home. That is a lot. This is from the 1st of February, 2015 on the North Echo website, which appears to be a British news website. So I believe this is a British story, which makes sense why the date is written that way. And this is written by Gavin Harvey. The wife and stepdaughter of a man who drowned and dismembered his pet dog. Oh yeah, I forgot about putting warnings on this. I'm going to go back and add a warning to the beginning for anything. I forgot this. I think the warning was attached to the first episode, and then I realized how long this was. Yeah. Okay. Trigger warning. Animals. Okay, starting over. The wife and stepdaughter of a man who drowned and dismembered his pet dog, then blamed black magic for his crimes, were in hospital last night after the house was destroyed in a fire. Margaret Carroll and Katrina Livingstone had been arrested by police on suspicion of arson with intent to endanger life. The pair also believed to be in critical condition for a condition unrelated to the blaze, which ripped through their home near Ludgate, Consett County, Durham, on Saturday. Okay, so they're in the hospital with injuries that are unrelated to the fire. Interesting. Police are investigating claims that the pair had been using a Ouija board the night before and received a chilling message that they were going to die. Last week, Mrs. Carroll's husband, Paul, pled guilty to causing unnecessary suffering to a protected animal. Magistrates heard how he drowned and dismembered a Bedlington Terrier, which I did get a couple pictures of it, and it's pretty cute, and I'll add those to the Patreon. Then claimed supernatural spirits from a Ouija board session on Christmas Eve had killed it. Wait, so he killed the dog, then claimed supernatural spirits from the session had killed it. Oh, okay. Not him, the spirit. Okay. The 51-year-old who has learning difficulties is due to be sentenced later this month. Despite that, neighbors claim that the family had continued trying to commune with the spirit world. Donna Sowerby, who lives nearby in First Street, said Miss Livingstone, which would be the stepdaughter, told her she used a Ouija board on Friday night, which told her she and her mother were going to die. Emergency services were called to the home at around 8:45 on Saturday morning. Mrs. Howerby, this would be the neighbor, 30, no, yes, said the fire was right the way through the property. It was horrible. The roof was right up. We could not see the street because of the smoke. There was a mini explosion and one of the firefighters was blown back. Residents have said the mother and daughter who lived in the property less than a year were found in the garden as the blaze took hold. Neighbors had to be evacuated over fears the flames would spread and that gas canisters in the house could explode. Next door neighbor Ann Newman, who has lived there with her husband Georgie for 32 years, said the fire was horrendous. There was smoke billowing out. A neighbor came to warn us and was panicking because there was a lot of gas bottles next door and was worried there was going to be an explosion. We were in our night clothes, but she said we had to evacuate straight away. Mr. Newman, who suffers from a wide range of health problems and requires a constant oxygen supply, was not allowed back into his home until Saturday tea time. Mrs. Newman said we could not come back to our home all day because our house smoke logged and my husband suffers with his chest. We are very angry about what has happened. Police have been at the house since the fire to keep it safe, and structural engineers are due to visit the property to assess the damage, but it is said to have been gutted by fire. Watch manager Damian Brennan of Count Durham and Darlington Fire and Rescue Service said by the time the crew got there, it was really well developed and we had to fight from the rear. They did well because we could have lost properties on both sides. The property itself is gutted. The roof is gone. The cause is under investigation. It is a suspicious fire. Mrs. Carroll and Miss Livingstone are being treated at the University Hospital of North Durham, and their condition is described as critical. A Durham constabulary spokesman said 2 women aged 60 and 37. Oh, I thought this, for some reason, I just thought they were younger when they were talking about the stepdaughter, were taken to the University Hospital of North Durham, where they remained in critical condition under arrest for arson with intent to endanger life. We are not looking for anyone else in connection with the incident. Police said no other dogs were in the property at the time of the fire, being removed by the RSPCA last month. Ugh. This one has so much in it, and it's one of those I would love to know more, but I'm afraid of looking up the dog stuff. Not gonna lie, my guys. I'm a little... Because I want to know why the husband was getting involved with black magic. I want to know... So did they, drug themselves and then set the house on fire? And then go to the garden? Ugh. I don't know. I don't know about this one. This one, there's so much to it, and it's a little bit more recent, so I'm wondering if I can find more. It's 2015. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and the poor dogs. Heartbreaking. So this next story, I went and got 2 different articles about, just because I didn't feel like there was enough information in the first one or the second one. So we had to have our Ouija board information, dang it. Blue Moon Killer. Man accused of quote-unquote ritualistic murders in Pensacola by Summer Pool of WKRG News 5. Posted September 10th, 2022 at 12:01 p.m. And this was updated November 8th, 2022. So, Pensacola, Florida. A Pensacola murderer deemed the Blue Moon Killer was once thought to be a quote-unquote realistic killer. Now officers know his attacks were much more personal attack. This is the story of Donald Hartjorn. WKRG News is looking back at the crimes that shocked the Gulf Coast. Vansell Smith, John William Smith, and Richard Thomas Smith's story is the fourth in the series. Okay. They were just checking out old stories. Got it. So, on July 31st, 2015, so it's not as recent as I originally thought, the bodies of the three people were found inside their home in Pensacola, according to the Washington Post. Vansell Smith, 77, John William Smith, 49, and Richard Thomas Smith, 47, were found 3 days after they were killed. Vansell was the mother of John and Richard. Oh, sad. Deputies with the Escambria County Sheriff's Office went to the house for a welfare check after one of Richard Smith's co-workers at the Department of Homeland Security reported him missing. Ooh, okay. The Escambia County Sheriff at the time, David Morgan, said, "The elements in this case are odd at best. We have a very reclusive family. Obviously, we've canvassed the neighborhood, spoken to people who lived there for years and years. Neighbors have related to us that they have never met members of this family." Is it just me and my nerdum that any time they talk about like a reclusive family like this, your brain goes to that episode of The X-Files? And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. That's always what I think of when I hear about reclusive family members. According to Rutgers, all three victims had their throats slit and had been badly beaten with a claw hammer. Oh. On top of that, Richard was shot in the head. Wait, was Richard the Homeland Security? Or was that the other brother? Yes, so that is the Homeland Security brother. Oh, claw hammer. Damn. Richard was shot in the head, which deputies believed happened to immobilize him before the murders. Deputies also believed that the killings were ritualistic because each person of interest at the time was linked to religious practices they believed also involved ritualistic killings. Morgan said, "The crime appears to have been part of a witchcraft practice linked to the July 31st blue moon, a reference to the second of two full moons which appear in a calendar month." This is the county sheriff at the time. Okay. He believes that because of the blue moon. Okay. July 31st was not only the day the three bodies were found, but it was also the day deputies raided the home of their suspect, Donald Wayne Hartog, 63. 63? So he's like almost 20 years older than his brothers. So Vansell must have been like 14 when she had him. Oh, okay. Was the authorities' main suspect in these killings. Hartog was the son of Vansell and half-brother to John and Richard. His home was searched by authorities, where they found some questionable evidence. Authorities allegedly found clothes Hartog was wearing during the murders, the possible murder weapons, and a pagan worship room. according to reporting done by Court TV. If you're into true crime stuff at all, you know Court TV is either the best or the absolute worst when it comes to sensationalism. And I'm like, what kind of pagan worship room? I'm like, half of my bedroom is, I guess, that. I have to look this up. If it's on Court TV, I should be able to find something. Oh, yeah, because my second article comes from them. When news outlets heard about the evidence found inside the home and the July 31st blue moon, that is when they started to call him the Blue Moon Killer. Court TV reported at the time that although the theory about the ritualistic killing was spreading like wildfire, investigators announced they believed the killing had nothing to do with rituals and had everything to do with finances. Allegedly, a co-worker of Hartog said Hartog had previously said he would inherit all of his mother's assets because he was the oldest living heir. Hartog, should have went with his first name, was officially arrested by deputies on October 27th, 2015, and was charged with 3 counts of first-degree premeditated murder with a weapon. He was ultimately sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences after the jury deliberated for only an hour. Damn, that's quick. That's like really quick. So I did find another article on this because I feel like the article before gave pretty good details, but we're kind of here for the spooky Ouija board shit. So I had to go find some more Ouija board shit for us. Because I was like, where's this coming from? So this one is from Court TV. Potential jurors questioned about Wicca and Ouija boards in Hartog murder trial. This was posted at 1:05 p.m. January 15th, 2020. Ooh, that's a bummer. And was last updated at 4:54 p.m. July 21st, 2023. Jury selection is underway in the witchcraft triple murder trial. Potential jurors were given unique juror questionnaires asking questions about the Wiccan religion and Ouija boards. Dubbed the Blue Moon Killer, Donald Wayne Hartog is facing the death penalty in the 2015 murders of his mother and 2 younger brothers. Hartog allegedly stabbed each victim in the throat, struck them with a hammer, and buried them under piles of clothes on July 28th, 2015. Oh, that's interesting, because before they kept saying the 31st. Their bodies were found 3 days later inside the home of the 3 victims shared. So me being me, I'm like, wait, was the blue moon on the 28th or was it on the 31st? Just saying. Prosecutors from the Office of the State Attorney for the First Judicial Circuit of Florida laid out their theory of motive in the case against Hartog in several court documents. You are interrupting. You want to come learn about Ouija board and murder? Come on. Oh, I lost it. You distracted me. One of the most explicit explanations is contained in the state's response to a defense motion to exclude mentions of the defendant's Wiccan religion and the victim's will. So the defendant's Hartog is apparently Wiccan, and then, okay, they're trying to exclude the mom's will. Got it. The document includes transcripts of recorded interviews with an inmate who said Hartog confessed to him the murders and described how his Wiccan beliefs were involved in the alleged murder plot. Transcript highlights. The state claims evidence of Hartog's religion and will help establish material elements of intent and motive. Second point. The whole motive was money because he was out of the will. But the Ouija board convinced him to move forward. In 2 recorded interviews on May 4th, 2016 and June 17th, 2016, an Cambria County Jail inmate told prosecutors and law enforcement that Hartog confessed to the murders, providing the following details. 1 point. One of the victims, a brother, molested Hartog's son when his son was 3 years old. Hartog's mother did not believe the boy and sided with Hartog's brother. Ever since, Hartog was messed up with his family about it. Hartog had been planning the murders for 4 years after learning in 2012 that he was not in the will. The Ouija board gave him the go-ahead to do it. Before killing his mother, Hartog cut off her pinky finger to get her to tell him the combination to the safe in her room. God damn. Hartog didn't bring his dog over to the house like he normally would because of the plan. Why would he take his dog? That's interesting. After the murders, he changed his clothes and got rid of them by giving all the stuff to a high priest in a Wiccan church. So, there's a lot to that one. That's the end of those 2 articles. Very interesting. This one sounds to me so satanic panic. That one's really interesting. I love that they also are like, no, it's definitely about money. The Ouija board just, convinced him to go with the plan that he's been planning. That's all. Interesting. I thought I saw when I was trying to find more information and found the court TV one. I thought I found something about there being an oxygen documentary. I'm going to look it up real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And yes, apparently there is an episode, I believe. I can't tell if it's an episode or a documentary, but it is called A Family Massacre because it says for more on the case and others like it. So I'm assuming it's a series. Streaming now on oxygen.com. That being said, he was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison in February 2020 without the chance of parole. So that is what happened to him. So this one is a bit rough, heads up. This has to do with a school shooting. So, warning. This article is entitled Mother, Oxford Shooters Text About Ghosts, Hallucinations, Just Jokes. So this one is from the Click on Detroit website. The article is written by Cassidy Johncox, senior news editor. I figured a little bit of background knowledge from Wikipedia about the Oxford school shooting would be a little bit important to understanding what we're talking about. As much as I hate to say it, I was not familiar with this one. On November 30th, 2021, a mass shooting occurred at Oxford High School in Detroit, excerpt of Oxford Township, Michigan, United States. Ethan Robert Crumbly, age 15, and armed with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, killed 4 students and injured 7 people, including a teacher. Authorities arrested and charged Crumbly as an adult for 24 crimes, including murder and terrorism. Crumbly pleaded guilty to all the charges in October 2022 and was sentenced in December 2023 to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 24 years. Okay, now going back to the... Or no. This is still Wikipedia. Crumbly's parents, Jennifer and James Crumbly, were charged with involuntary manslaughter for failing to secure the handgun used in the shooting. After failing to appear for their arraignment, the parents were the subjects of a manhunt by the U.S. Marshals. They were caught and arrested in Detroit. The Crumblys were tried and convicted separately on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter and were jointly sentenced on April 9th, 2024 to the maximum allowed, 15 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 10 years. Lawsuits were filed against the school district, Oxford Community Schools, alleging negligence by school officials towards warning signs exhibited by Crumbly leading up to the shooting. So, this article we're going to go into is the mother of the shooter who was charged with involuntary manslaughter, who took off and became subjects of a manhunt because they didn't want to take the responsibility for their kid. There's a lot. I already don't like this person. Okay. Jennifer Crumbly on trial for involuntary manslaughter. So, okay, this is part of her trial. Got it. Oxford, Michigan. Testifying at her own trial, which it says right there, if I would have just read, the mother of the Oxford high school shooter on Thursday told the court that text messages from her son regarding ghosts and hallucinations in their home were just jokes and not a cause for concern. Prosecutors have shared text message evidence between the shooter and his mother, Jennifer Crumbly, at her involuntary manslaughter trial in an attempt to prove the mother was grossly negligent toward her son and therefore partly responsible for the killings he carried out. Some of the texts included messages from the shooter to the mother, in which he said their house was haunted, clothes were flying off shelves, and that he was having hallucinations and seeing demons. Prosecutors have argued that the parents should have gotten their son professional help, pointing to these messages among other behavior. But while serving as a witness in her trial on Thursday, February 1st, Crumbly said she didn't think her son needed help and that those texts were just jokes. Okay. If your child comes to you saying they're seeing demons, please take it. Please do something. Okay. Defense attorney. When you look back at these texts now and you see that there's a demon throwing bowls and things like that, now looking back, do you think, oh my gosh, he had mental issues? Crumbly. No. Defense attorney. What do you think was going on? Crumbly. That it was just him messing around. He only did it when we weren't at home. Throughout her testimony, Crumbly said her son had a sarcastic sense of humor and frequently sent text messages meant to mess with his parents. She also said he had a Ouija board that he played with for some time and that he was convinced the family's old house was haunted. We called it our house ghost, Crumbly said. Each of them reportedly had names for the ghost. The mother did express that her son experienced a period of depression in 2021, particularly after the loss of a grandparent, a family pet, and because his grades were poor. When asked if she thought the shooter needed mental health treatment, she said no. The shooter's then best friend was the only friend he spent time with outside of school, according to Crumbly, moved away abruptly in October of 2021. Crumbly said her son took it hard and appeared more sad than usual. But when asked if the loss made the mother feel like she needed to get her son counseling, she again responded, no. And that is the end of that article. So, yeah, as someone who worked in schools and grew up after, was in school for Columbine and stuff, I'm like, it just hurts my heart. But it's so interesting that this mom has just doubled down that something was not wrong with her son. Something's obviously going on. I found another story that I didn't include in the earlier episode because I didn't feel like it totally connected. But it connects to this one in a way because it's very similar because it's a mom trying to come up with excuses, but the other way around, I should say, because she's blaming the Ouija board stuff. So this one is about Gary Gilmore. Gary Gilmore apparently shot 2 men to death in Utah in July 1976, then proceeded to demand his own execution for his crimes. It was later revealed by Gilmore's younger brother, Mikhail, in his book, Shot in the Heart, that their mother, Bessie, believed she had conjured a demon through a Ouija board when she was just a child. And I found this excerpt from Gary Gilmore, Death Wish, by Catherine Ramslin on Murderpedia, originally from the crimelibrary.com, and describes Bessie's story in a lot of detail. And I'm not going to do all of it because the whole thing is very, very long. And it is interesting. But I feel like it connects to this last story. So I'm just going to read you the excerpt about Bessie and her encounter. On top of all of this, Bessie had a deep-rooted suspicion about Gary that went back to her own childhood. She believed, as a girl playing with a Ouija board, she had conjured up a demonic ghost that had attached itself to her family. When one of her sisters was killed and another paralyzed in an accident, she felt certain it was the ghost. Then she married Frank and found out that his mother, Faye, was a medium who could get spirits to materialize. One night, while at Faye's house with 3 of her sons, including Gary, she learned that there was to be a special seance to contact a spirit who had died under the shameful suspicion of murder. Bessie stayed away. After the ceremony, she found Faye in a state of exhaustion, with an expression on her face of great fear and helplessness. So wait, she left her children with her mother-in-law to do a seance. Okay. She helped the older woman to bed, but later that night, Bessie woke up to the feeling of being touched, and when she turned over, she was looking into the face of a leering, inhuman creature. She jumped out of bed and saw Faye, an invalid, staggering towards her, insisting that she get out now. "It knows who you are," Faye shouted. Bessie ran to Gary's room and saw the same figure leaning over her son, staring into his eyes. She grabbed the kids and ran. Faye died shortly thereafter, and Gary began to have terrible, shuddering nightmares that he was being beheaded. He was certain something was trying to get to him, and the nightmares haunted him the rest of his life. Bessie saw the entity again in their home, and that's when Gary began to get into trouble. He continued having dreams, swearing that something was in the room with him. Bessie concluded that the thing had taken over her son's soul. His life thereafter was filled with angry, malevolent energy that seemed bent on self-destruction. Whether influenced by a demon or by familial abuse, Gary developed a death wish that guided his actions. Just gonna finish the article real quick. He seemed destined to die in a violent manner, though he often heard his mother's horror stories of an execution that she claimed to have witnessed as a girl. She has some stories. Oh my God. She's been enraged that her father had taken her, a mere child, to witness a hanging. She told this story over and over. All of the boys believed she'd really witnessed this incident, and it had left a deep impression on them. Yet, when Mikhail researched in the Utah records, he realized that it was impossible for her to have witnessed such an event. She had made it up, possibly deriving this metaphor from her helplessness and anger. Yet, it was a fatal vision that may have marked her second son with a sense of inevitability. Mikhail concludes that the lies she told revealed a terrible psychological truth that became an unspoken emotional legacy for her sons. They wanted to erase themselves from existence, and in fact, one was murdered, one was executed, one dropped into a psychological coma, and one, Mikhail, became a writer. Gilmore was executed in 1977, and Mikhail's research for the book was conducted only afterward, so it can't be confirmed whether Gary himself believed a Ouija board had sealed his fate. So there you go, moms. Using a Ouija board to either defend your kids or not in their court case. Either way, it speaks of some mental health issues among the family members. Just saying. So there you have it, my spooky babes. I had so much fun delving into a little more of a true crime story this time around than what we usually do. But I really hope you enjoyed it as well. I just find it all freaking fascinating. Thank you so much for listening today. Remember to let me know if there's any of the stories you would like me to do a deep dive on. I think I know which ones I want to do, but I'm curious what you guys think as well. Also, if you have any Ouija board stories to share, I want to hear them. Or, if you have a ghost story to share, email me at myhauntedlifepodcast@gmail.com. Or you can write on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and now YouTube. And they're all My Haunted Life Podcast. While you are there, like and follow and comment. It honestly makes my day. And let's not forget the podcast group, because we have fun over there. I think so. I'm going to be posting like a poll, I think, for people to click and vote on their favorite stories they wouldn't mind seeing a deep dive on. My Haunted Life Podcast is written, researched, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Angela Hartjorn. All my sources are going to be posted on the Patreon page. So make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast apps so you never miss an episode. And if you're interested in more pictures, videos, info, the show notes, the sources for this week's episode, make sure to check out the Patreon page. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, please subscribe to the page. You can support the show for as little as $2 a month. You don't even need to actually subscribe to it or pay anything for it, because most of the stuff I still post for free, but that is the way to get it. And I have been noticing a bunch of you hopping on, and I really appreciate that. If you have any information about Ouija boards or crimes committed by a planchette, let me know. I want to know. I love that stuff. Seriously, email me. And that's about it. That's all I got for today, my loves. Music is by Ghost Stories Incorporated. So that's it. I will talk to you guys next time on my Haunted Life podcast. Make sure to hop over to the group and vote for the story you would like a deep dive on. And yeah, stay spooky.